Are the pros even affected by the wind? Well, I was watching the men doubles semifinals this past weekend at the Texas Open, and I thought to myself, I could beat Ben Johns today. What is he doing? Then I remembered that I'm a 4.7 with a max of about 5.25 and thought, I can't beat Ben Johns even if his paddle is tied to his left foot. It was about that same time that I looked outside and saw the trees just gusting. Then I remembered that morning that I was doing my drilling class, and I remembered how hard it was to keep the ball in play. I mean, there were some shots I would hit and it would go 7 to 10 feet to the right. And that was in 15-mile-an-hour winds with 30-mile-an-hour gusts. And so then I checked McKinney, Texas, where the tournament was being played, and saw that they had 17-mile-an-hour winds with gusts almost 30 miles an hour as well. So then I started watching a little bit more closely how the ball was moving as I was watching them play, and maybe why they were making certain mistakes over and over that they didn't traditionally make in the past when the conditions were a bit calmer. Now you'll notice as we watch this game, there's a camera up here and there's a camera from the side. So there's one camera looking this way and one coming this way, and the wind is coming this way. So as you're looking from the camera, it's coming towards the camera here. Now, one thing I really like to tell people, when there's this much wind coming like this, it basically moves the court. So the court is like this. It's not the best drawing, but the court shifts. So shots that would normally go out here, the wind pulls it back in play. Shots that would normally go in here get pushed out. Same thing for the sidelines when it has a little bit of a crosswind like it did this day. Shots that normally would go out here get pulled back oftentimes into the court, and shots that would go in here often get pushed out just because of that slight diagonal wind that it has. We're going to watch how this wind affects the serves and the returns. Now notice when the players are serving upwind, how it just will sometimes die, and then the player will reach out and hit a return, and if they hit that return just a little bit too much, it will just keep floating out of bounds. So you'll also notice a lot when the players are serving downwind, they get extra pace on their serve without having to put extra power into it themselves, while also making it really hard for their opponent to return upwind, basically into a wall of wind. So that wind just kind of holds the ball, and you're having to hit this ball 5 to 10 feet farther than you normally would, which is hard when that ball gets on top of you so quick. When the players are working in transition, you'll notice the team going upwind has a lot of really good third shot drives into fifth shot hunts. This is kind of hard to do though, because that return when they're going downwind has a lot of pace and it's really heavy and it kind of gets on top of you, stays low. Now when the players on the far side of the camera, they get a return, oftentimes their returns just kind of sit up for them. So the returns tend to be short, but it's kind of hard to drive downwind because there's so much more risk of it flying out. Again, because that court is shorter. So you'll see a lot of players, when they get a short return, they'll still drive it, but they'll take a lot off of their drive so that they can focus on getting it in and getting up. You'll also notice that when the wind's gusting a lot, that players go to drives more because the drops get so unpredictable. You might hit a drop that is even good in that wind, and then all of a sudden that gusts 5 miles an hour extra, and it just leaves your drop short or pushes it just a little bit far for it to get slammed. So you'll see a lot of players hit hard drives into the wind and mediocre drives with the wind, just because it's easier to do that than to hit a drop. It's more predictable, and the ball will kind of knuckle with that wind going as fast as it was. So that's something fascinating that I noticed over and over as this game played out, how often the players went to a third shot drive into a fifth shot hunt, trying to end points early, and you saw very few dink rallies because of that. Now, we did still get some dink rallies. We had a couple of long dink rallies, but nothing like a normal pro pickleball match would at this level. But once they did get to the kitchen, what we noticed was the team going downwind had a lot more aggressive dinks because that ball just kind of keeps going and can get at the player's feet a lot more. And the players dinking upwind, the dink would just kind of die and sit up into the kitchen. But it's really hard for your opponents to attack when they're at the kitchen downwind because that ball is more likely to fly out. So you saw a lot more speed ups into the wind by players because again, they have extra court to work with. They can speed it up more and more effectively while still getting that ball to dip down in play. So I thought it was fascinating watching these players play in the wind and kind of figure out how this wind was working and how their points developed because of that. And just to recap, heavy downwind serves, tough returns upwind, players really liking to drive upwind or downwind, but really upwind driving and hunting, because that fourth shot is really hard to keep in play and to keep unattackable from the hunt, because that ball, if it sits up at all, the wind takes it, keeps it high, players slam it. Now, I'm sure this match would have been a lot different if it was more crosswinds or more swirly winds, but I thought it was fascinating with how it played out with that amount of downwind. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. And if you know someone or are looking for a paddle yourself, you can check out my store at calvinkeeney.com/shop. I have my raw carbon fiber paddles, the Brute, and I'll put a link here as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.